So good morning, Monday market analysis. Let's see what the week will bring us. Just quickly browse the news site. There's not really anything big there. Pre-market data is pretty much flat in a slight green. There was some interesting thing educating on CNN Business, of all places, where Bitcoin alternatives like Ethereum, Binance Coin, Tether, Solana were mentioned. So that's pretty interesting. They even mention those. We're quite used to being Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum, but now it seems the narrative is changing a bit in the mainstream media to include other high market cap coins like Solana and Binance. So interesting from an adoption point of view. For the rest, it's still inflation rates and energy and supply chain that pretty much covers the news. And of course, the COVID, there's the winter surge. That's pretty much expected anyway. But nothing where I think, well, this could lead to an exciting week on that account. The usual quarrel between US and China, but chip shortages, more of the same pretty much. So nothing really shocking there. Pretty much the same on the calendar. A lot of probably low impact things. Retail sales usually doesn't move the market that much. We got the European inflation rate. Obviously, the same as in the US, pretty much scaled down from the actual reality, but still could be some interesting things if the on Wednesday the figures are much worse than expected. And for the rest, not much on the calendar, so it should be a fairly quiet week on that account. So just gonna pull up my fundamentals chart. I think that's where the most interesting part is at the moment. And this was quite surprising. The US dollar index with inflation rates being much worse, and even the Fed starting to admit that, but still the dollar managed to take quite a big leg up. It is pretty much happened when Bitcoin was going down. So I think this dip is pretty much more the valuation of the dollar going up on that account. But yeah, DXY is on very interesting levels. It has been trending up quite a while against all the odds, and even broke this level, hitting the next resistance. So very curiously and very strange, actually. I think I heard some other macroeconomics so-called experts also say that they don't understand the world anymore. When inflation is rising, the dollar is also rising. That's should be inverse. But anyway, it's a weird world with all the economic policies, and this is the result. So let's see what happens there. Could be just a bit of a relief rally, but it did push quite high. Very surprised about that. The stock markets had the same dip pretty much as Bitcoin. Also pulled back a bit from all-time highs. small retrace, and now are starting in the green again. Bitcoin will probably follow that, I expect, when the markets open. So these are the pre-market figures, and Bitcoin usually correlates the most to the S&P 500, and that's the one that's gaining the most in the pre-market. So could give a nice push, helpful push upwards for Bitcoin too. Gold, finally the trade has been in profit, and that's also one thing that was weird. The dollar and gold having a nice leg up together. That's also something that usually doesn't happen, but these are strange times for that account. So nice flow up. We'll see where it ends. And yeah, we had another highest weekly close ever yesterday evening, with a new all-time high in the same week. So I don't think there's anything to complain or to fear on that account. It's taking it nice and slowly. That's exactly what you want to see at these levels. We just broke these tops, and if you just fly up crazy instantly, then it usually leads to a much more violent pullback. So the slower and easier and relaxed this pump is, the better. Weekly RSI, it's still just below 70. Also just entering the bullish zone. And we saw what happened the last time that we broke that 70 line. We had this huge ride up. So RSI is on very healthy levels, not doing that much. So there's plenty of potential space to the upside there. Hash ribbon also looks pretty stable. So on a weekly time frame, blue skies, green fields, everything looks great. No problems there. We had a bit of a pullback in Bitcoin dominance, where we are looking at a W pattern here, anchor wave, trigger wave on hyper. So it might be, if we extend this zone again, that has been very important in the last month, pretty much all year, since May at least. So the top of the zone is also the top of the W. So if Bitcoin managed to break out here, then the market dominance will probably hit these levels again, going to this resistance zone here. For now, this would suggest that Bitcoin would go on a bit of a run, where the altcoins underperform a bit, but should not drop that much. And hopefully we will get some nice gains on those. But for now, Bitcoin dominance looks like it's trying to break this zone. Could get rejected if Bitcoin continues to go sideways and the alts go on a bit of a run. But that remains to be seen still. So I'm just gonna pull this one here for in a bit. We did get a bit of rejection at this zone. So let's see what Bitcoin is planning to do. Volatility still pretty low. We don't have any crazy pumps. And I did ask at least a 10K daily candle, green daily candle for Christmas. Let's see if we get that. Bitfinex positions, nothing much happening, pretty flat out. People are, the big boys there are waiting to see what happens. Well, then we have the total market cap, where we still have this multi-month cup and handle, and it's performing perfectly. Actually, we had that magical number of 3 trillion where we got a bit of rejection. That's perfectly normal, a bit of a pullback here. It's gaining speed a bit. So the target of this pattern is still between 3.2 and 3.3-ish trillion dollar. It's also the zone where the last Fibonacci cluster of lines is pretty much, and then above that there's little information to base this on. But yeah, this is exactly what we would hope. Very steady growth up, nothing crazy that would pull back more violent. Still have a bit to go to the measured move there. Looking good. And we're back to the US dollar. Quickly peek on what the alts are doing, and I just filtered out Bitcoin, Ethereum, and the stable coins. So this is pretty amazing what Zero is doing. I think it's the don't know if you guys have seen it, the Fortune favors the brave commercials from crypto.com. They're everywhere, and I think they signed up Matt Damon for it, and I think that's giving them a lot of traction, and that explains this crazy pumpage of Zero. Because you need to, if you want a credit card or Zero, the Visa card, you need to buy and stake some zeros. For the rest, the bigger altcoins are slightly in the greens, recovering a bit. We don't have any of the fee chains doing quite well. Litecoin, Tron even is waking up a bit. Got some pullbacks also, but it's pretty much from an altcoin perspective, this is pretty much flat. Like 1 to 3% is nothing. There are a few nice gainers as fee chain. For the rest, nothing really shocking. So it's also in a bit of a waiting mode to see what Bitcoin is planning to do next. Obviously, Loopring had a bit of a pullback, but that's such a crazy pump that's normal. It will retrace a bit. So where are we looking in the laser show? Did a nice break of the zone. We failed, tried again, and failed again to really break it. You see that we pretty much got resistance by this major GAN line. That has been resistance a lot before. It goes back all the way to September. What did price do? It fell back to the major zone here, around that 65, 62, 65. We bounced off this GAN channel that's been playing also for a long time. And we now just hit the next GAN level. And I should update this chart a bit with the recent. I think we had some discernible higher lows. This is the last update I had. So I have to add this low and this high to the lines. We'll do that soon. And this URL is also in the channel where it's the chart is shared. But for now, pretty clear. Again, place obviously the next target we want to break is the previous all-time high. It's around, was it? Yeah, about 69. It's obviously a target. We have this zone still being in effect. That was based on several Fibonacci retracements. Let's quickly see. I'll do that in another chart. Go away. So we're now just following this one. We just bounced off. So hopefully we can get another push to that 69 level. And then it's going to be the open skies again. Price discovery could go completely crazy, or we just could linger on in this area for a bit. Bottoms is pretty much still these three. This one is still the, oh, that's a bit high. There. Top of this zone is still a support level. We have the bottom of that zone. It also seems of the top of the other one, sorry. Yeah, the top of the other one, around 61, is also support. But we do have also these gun lines that we've been bouncing off quite a bit. So that would bring us around, yeah, 63.5. So might get a, if we get a flash crash wick, we might go into that zone, but I think it will be very short-lived. For me, at the moment, these are the down level targets where I'm looking for. The up target, yeah, we have to see if and when we break that 69.70K, things could go a bit wild after that, but don't expect that to go in one run. But the market could just go crazy. We're half November, and we all know what happened last year in December on that account. So this one I'm going to keep for the end. So I'm just quickly going to look at the 4-hour chart here. That's the old drawings. Let's see. What do we have? We do have a bit of a liquidity zone here. 4-hour, quite a large zone actually. It could act up. Where did we go from? So pretty nice bounce on the 618. We even overshot almost to the 786. I think if you take the candle body, it's exactly, yeah. So let's keep that one. Really quickly, just this wick down to the 786. So pretty deep retrace on that last move. Let's add a trend-based fib on the same parameters here. Well, the 61, the 786 is exactly the previous all-time high. That one. So 100% move. Yeah, that if we break that 71K, then pretty much the next target is 76. So used to saying 60K, but we're getting close to that 70K-ish. So 74.7, so pretty much the 75K, and that's an interesting zone where we might get some action here. If we break out, this is probably the next rejection zone. We might wick into it, then stabilize a bit in this area. That's would be a very nice move. So see if we break it. Since when am I red? We might have a bit of a retest of the previous all-time high, ideally. Then we might probably quickly wick in there and end up somewhere here. I do like yellow better for this stuff. We do have this liquidity zone, so we could also just take another small dip down for bouncing off, but this liquidity zone is not that strong in my opinion, because it has been plenty of price action here on that in that price area. So let's see. The volume profile tells us from here to there. Yeah, it's quite a resistance zone. Not a really huge spike, so this level is pretty much equal. So yeah, we're currently at this spike here, giving some, there was support here and here, so that's our resistance at the moment. We need to break the next resistance zone. It's around that 67-ish. But then we can expect some action on this level. And that's the benefit of not completely exploding to the upside. If you have some bit of a accumulation time before this liquidity zone, that makes the probability that price will go back to this zone much lower than if you have something like this, where it just takes off in an instant. Like this was a very much stronger liquidity zone, and this was also a much stronger liquidity zone because there was not much time to enter the market with limit orders. Well, here we did go sideways for a bit, so giving bigger limit orders the time to get filled. So this would be a nice Christmas present to get around these levels. And again, I couldn't find it quickly. Some Bitcoin wallets that were dormant since pretty much 2008, 2010, with quite high amounts, they all of a sudden had transactions going out, and those addresses where they moved their Bitcoin to are pretty much addresses that are suspected to be over-the-counter exchange wallets. So it seems that the OTC desks has found some hodlers or are now entering the their cold storage, or not cold storage, their backup Bitcoin reserves from 10, 12 years ago. So that's another sign that the market of BTC, the supply is still really low. So they're resorting to their, I think, their backup reserves, selling those over-the-counter deals. And I had it open. If we look at some on-chain fundamentals, you see a pretty clear reason why. Like exchange reserves are crazy low. Money's just been flowing out and out and out and out. And the same is for Ethereum. Flows. Ethereum is even worse. We're even hitting all-time lows in reserves. And that's not surprisingly, because you see the amount staked is growing again. We had a bit of a spike and a dip here in the price, but the amount staked, you see that price dipped and more people bought Ethereum to stake it. So that's nice curve, and it's a bit flattening out, but still growing every week. The total value staked is now, what is it? Yeah, 8.2 billion or something. 8.2 million, sorry. So that's quite nice amounts. You also see new depositors, so new people are staking. It's not the same people staking more and more. You see that number of new depositors are staking Ethereum. So that's definitely a sign where the scarcity is coming from. Is there anything here? There's still quite a bit of stable coins ready to jump in. The rest, nothing. But I thought it was really interesting to see that 2010 wallets that has been dormant for all these years, all of a sudden are selling their Bitcoin. So they made a hell of a nice profit. And it wouldn't surprise me if they just didn't all sell it for dollars, but changed it for some other altcoins or something. That's just wild guessing. So quickly to end this Zoom. Now we're on pretty high prices. Obviously, where everybody's mind is when do I need to get out? When is the real top of this market? And when I don't want to sell too far before the top, but I also don't want to sell halfway into the bear market if a bear market comes, which is also not 100% sure that it will happen again this badly. So I've been pretty much this combination of several things that I've been compiling. So these blue lines are based on price and mining fundamentals on the background. What you can see is there are clear, you see these red stars and the green stars, they pretty much very nicely local top, local bottom. It calls the tops and the bottom pretty well. Yeah, the last spike also. This bottom, this one here, we had a few over there, and now we had a nice green one back in June during the summer. So that's definitely a good sign to see those, if we look back historically, that those stars are, yeah, 2010 is a bit, everything was stopped by then because there was no history, obviously, but pretty much since 2011, those stars have marked the peaks and the valleys pretty darn well. And as you can see, we are currently no red stars at all there. So we had a nice green one here on this dip. And here you see the oscillator version where it's based on that we just dipped below this low point. We're now just going slowly at a comfortable level. And if you zoom out, you see that the cycle tops, like this was like the double top of 2013. They were all very colored clusters of red for a few months. Both of them. And you saw the bear market bottom with a big cluster of the green. Then you saw the first big cluster in 2017. We had several days continuously having the red stars, was also marking the peak. Same for the bear market low. We had some stars on the way, but now we have the continuous stream of stars for several months, marking the bottom. We had some, and the March dip was also marked perfectly on that. But if we zoom out, we see that there were always pretty big spikes in mining and price and selling things. And we, like, even 2018 was a bit lower. So let's take into account that the mining is getting more difficult. And even if you would draw a line like this, then that would still mean that there's plenty of upside potential for that. So if we look, there's no big clusters of reds yet. So this was definitely, in my opinion, a subtop. Also, the levels are still comfortably low. Yeah, the subtop, just like here, where you had a few subtops here on low mining index levels, and then the real top absolutely broke up, having a big spike on that oscillator. And the same, move that here, same also, you had a lower zone here. This was not the top. It did have a bit of a pullback, then it bounced to much higher levels. So this also does indicate that it's not definitely more upside potential inside. So nice conclusion for today. I'm going to call it a quits. Recording will be posted. And if you guys have any requests for Tuesday's tomorrow's trading course, just drop them in the channel and see where we go. All right, guys, take care and see you in the channel.